that this meeting will be live streamed as well as recorded via the internet, and this recording will be archived for future viewing. Agenda item 1, apologies for absence. Do we have any, Gap? Go ahead, Liz. I can see your hand up. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Chair. I believe that we have apologies from the usual Chair, Councillor Rhiannon Birch. I'm not aware of any others at the moment, but I don't know if Gareth's heard of any more.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to agenda item 2, the minutes of the meeting held on the 14th of October. I take you've all read the minutes. Has anyone got any points to bring up to have changed or clarified, or are we happy to agree the minutes are correct? Councillor Norman first, please. Okay, Councillor Burnett.
It's okay, Chair. I was just about to say I didn't think that my apologies had been recorded, but they have. I hadn't read far enough down. Thank you.
Okay, as we got no dissent, I'll take that as the minutes are agreed. Agenda item 3, declarations of interest. Is there any? No? Great. That takes us on. Oh, sorry, Gary.
Sorry, Chair. My apologies. I did have a connection issue before. I know I can see that Councillor Birch's apologies were given, but also apologies from Councillor Collins. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. That takes us on to agenda item 4, the reshaping programme, strengthening communities in response to Audit Wales reports on tackling poverty and third sector working. And I'm handing over to Helen Moses now. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this is a reference from Cabinet to the committee, and it relates to a piece of work that was undertaken last year that we have previously reported to this committee, and that was how we worked with Compass to develop our response to a number of audit reports that focused on, there were some All Wales reports that focused on sort of how local authorities were working to tackle poverty, how they were working with social enterprise, and also a Vale-specific report on the third sector. And as members of the committee will recall, we pulled that all together into one exercise, and Compass undertook considerable engagement and work with us to develop our response, and seeing that as very much part of the development of reshaping and the corporate plan. This committee last October considered the findings of that report and the council's response to that. And members may also be aware that we've been taking forward that work as part of the draft of the new corporate plans. We very much embedded work on poverty within that. We've included a relationship statement within that about what other organisations can expect with working with the council. As part of the consideration of that work, as well as this committee and obviously Cabinet's consideration, the report was also referred to Corporate Performance and Resources Scrutiny Committee. And the reference here tonight relates to comments made by that committee, which was then referred to Cabinet itself. And members will see that the notes of that committee have been noted by Cabinet. Also in terms of the work that is being recommended around mapping of the social enterprise sector, so there can be a better understanding of that work, which is the particular reference to this committee. But also within this reference, it does make reference to the partnership work that's undertaken by the council with different organisations, and some of the work of the recent panel assessment that was undertaken last November. So it's just to sort of update committee for context. As I say, the corporate plan is now in its final stages. It will be being considered by Cabinet and Council in February and March, and that has very much strengthened the content around working with partnership and the way forward for the council in terms of that relationship statement and how we'll be approaching that activity and how that links to the reshaping work as well. There was a good response to the content within the corporate plan around tackling poverty as well. And as part of that work and our wider partnership work, we're now looking to do sort of more activity around understanding much more around the opportunities out there for taking forward some of our work and what the different sectors look like. So we're doing some mapping work around partnership activity. We have a good understanding through very much our work with GVS around the third sector. But one of the things that came through the Compass work was around the need for a more detailed understanding of the work of social enterprises within the area and what the opportunities might be there. So Cabinet have referred that matter to this committee for consideration in terms of undertaking an exercise of that nature. And so the initial thinking around that at the moment would be that we would build that within the work that we're doing as part of reshaping, where we're looking at the opportunities that we have as an organisation as different projects as part of that programme are taken forward, and using that to explore the landscape as well as I say, building on some of the other mapping work we're doing around partnership activity as well. We are also looking to strengthen some of the information on our website and as part of the promotion of that statement that we've got around what people can expect when they work with the council, to enable sort of further conversations maybe with organisations that we don't currently work with, to see what those opportunities might be. So really that's the reference from Cabinet, and just really that context for how that fits with some of the consideration that this committee has also done previously of that work undertaken by Compass linked to our work around poverty and our work with other sectors. So really it was really for the thoughts of committee in terms of undertaking that mapping work. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Ellen. So I'll open it up to the committee. Any questions? Any observations? Go on, Rach.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Just really to say that throughout the Compass report, they seem to have made some. Whoops, sorry about that. Some reference to a difference between social enterprises and third sector organisations, and that's not actually the case. Many third sector organisations are social enterprises but don't have a social enterprise governing document and do not want a social enterprise KIC document. So it's important to recognise that there is that crossover between third sector voluntary organisations and the social enterprises that Compass focuses on. And in fact, they're funded to work with social enterprises only. So it was important that we note that. And I guess any engagement with the third sector has to have a very clear engagement policy and strategy in place. And that's probably the most important element of taking this work forward, is making sure that there is that engagement strategy agreed between third sector and the council. So it was just really those comments, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. it was my understanding on where they said about the third sector and social enterprise. I know some of them cross over, but it was just to catch the ones that never don't get caught on it, so that people weren't excluded. Sorry, Helen, would you be able to answer that a bit better than me? Or
Thank you. I think it's a really important point that Rachel raised, and it's very much the work with Compass was informed by those Audit Wales reports where there was a particular focus on social enterprise. I think as part of the work that we undertook and the conversations again with GVS, there was an understanding of that overlap between the different organisations. And I think very much the way we're seeing taking forward this work as part of that opportunity and that link to reshaping, but also the wider work of how the council works in partnership is actually about how we have those conversations with other organisations who do want to work with us, regardless of whether they might call themselves a social enterprise or a third sector, but actually where there can be that mutual benefit and we can deliver the outcomes that we want for our communities. So I think we're keen, I think, to understand more of the organisations that are out there without necessarily getting too bogged down in that labelling, I think, as well, which is why we're also keen to do the work through some of that partnership work as well. But I think that's probably why there's such an emphasis on social enterprise, going back to some of the Audit Wales work originally, which is why I think we also saw the benefit of bringing the different aspects of work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Burnett.
Thank you, Chair. It's an interesting one, this. As I said, the work was done by Compass, who work with social enterprises and cooperatives. But work more widely as well. But I think there's a move within Wales to work with. I mean, we talk about third sector. Third sector goes from totally voluntary sector to totally social business purposes, and a whole spectrum of different organisations in between. I think the one thing that comes in with third sector is that they are not for private profit. Some of them make a surplus in whatever way and then employ that into what they're doing. But this is not going into dividends. It's not going into anybody's pocket or whatever. It pays wages, but that's about it. So Welsh Government have talked more and more about taking private profit out of some of the public services that we commission, and they've been talking about that in terms of social care, etc. So it's understandable that Audit Wales are looking into the sort of involvement in with social enterprise. But I mean, if you actually look at it, the council is one big social business, aren't we? I mean, in some ways we make surpluses on some of the fees and charges that we offer. We've got Big Fresh, etc. But we are not profit making. We just sort of work out our sort of mixed funding stream, so to speak, and that's the whole thing. So as we move forward with a reshaping model going, into the future of local government finances, then it will be good to have an understanding of all the different partners we can potentially work with in the Vale and in what form. And some of them will be much more voluntary sector organisations, and some of them will have a mixed income stream further towards the income generation. But the more we know about that, the more we can work with our local organisations. So I really welcome this report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that. As there's no other questions, sorry, Rachel, I take it you were happy with Helen's response?
Yes, thank you.
Right, thank you all. That takes us on to agenda. Oh, sorry, are we moving just to note that report then, Gar, or?
Sorry, yeah. Sorry, Chair, if you just ask committee if they're happy to note the report, then we can move on to the next item. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Committee, you happy to note that report? Councillor Burnett?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Seconding or happy, yeah. Okay, thank you all. Cheers. So that brings us on to agenda item 5, which is to provide the committee with information on the work of GVS throughout the year April 2023 to March 2024. And I'll now hand over to Rachel Connor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you for that. Yes, it's that time of year when we bring to this committee the document that you see before you that undertakes to outline and provide more detail of the activities of our organisation throughout the financial year, and in this case it's 23-24. So I think it's quite a comprehensive report outlining all of the different areas that we and the achievements that we've undertaken throughout that year. So it looks at IT, websites, social media, digital platforms that we're involved with, looks at our development and advice services, our information service, our practical services, networks, fora, and funding service, training service, and volunteering and partnership and joint working. And you'll see that there's a long list of the partnerships and joint working that GVS is involved in on behalf of the third sector here in the Vale. It also looks at the activities of projects that we're involved in delivering and the buildings that we manage. 2 of them are local authority buildings. One has come to us via community asset transfer, and the other through purchase of the lease. And our third building there is in St Paul's in Penarth, and that's through an agreement with Newydd Housing. So it looks at also some of the impacts that we have on the environment. It looks at how we're undertaking efficiency savings and talks about the fact that we've worked very closely with our partners in the local authority to access a Stadau Cymru funding that has been used to upgrade and install new heating system, solar panels, battery, etc., in the CF61 building in Llantwit Major. And we're certainly hoping that that will bring down some of the costs of running that particular building by dealing with our utilities and helping to reduce those bills. I also attached the impact report that is presented at the annual general meeting for GVS. And that, I think, provides some really interesting and useful information on exactly what our impact has been. So it's actually set out to show you the difference that we made during that year in each of our services. So that document starts with funding information services and the difference we made and the feedback from users of our services and members of GVS. The next one is governance services. Again, the difference we made and the feedback. Volunteering services, same again. Health, social care and wellbeing services. Partnerships and joint working. Information and member services. And currently we've got over 800 third sector organisations in membership with GVS here in the Vale, which is quite a considerable number. And when you consider that actually we've lost quite a few members throughout the 12-month period due to lack of funding and various other external impacts, we've also attracted a large number of third sector organisations throughout that 12-month period. I'm very happy to take any questions, and I hope that the meeting and members will be interested to ask questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that report. So I'll open it up to the floor. Is any questions, comments, or observations for Rachel, please?
I'm getting off lightly, Chair.
No, I've got a couple for you, but I've got Councillor Burnett to put her hand up. Liz, if you'd like to go.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to make a couple of comments, really. One is I'm really pleased at how St Paul's in Penarth is going. I mean, I think right from the start, CF61 has been absolutely brilliant with the number of organisations and activities that go on there. So it's still my ambition to get down to one of the Thursday sessions, but they always seem to clash with Cabinet. But as I said, St Paul's is certainly becoming very much a focus within a focal point within the community, as we'd hoped, and thank you ever so much for enabling that. I think it also goes without saying that the support we had through the pandemic was absolutely crucial in the way we were all able to cope. But since then, the cost of living support, the way in which you delivered the small grants that kept so many organisations afloat and able to deliver services locally was also very useful. And I understand there's some more funding coming through from Welsh Government as well, which I think might be going straight to voluntary body or voluntary umbrella bodies, but I don't quite know the details on that as yet. So no, I just want to take the opportunity to say a huge thank you to you, and hopefully see you in person to say that soon.
Thank you for that. And Rachel, I'd like to add on top of all the social media, the digital platforms and the services you're doing there, the fact that on all your the training courses you've delivered, you've got 100% rating of either good or excellent. I think that speaks for itself in the quality of the training that you're giving people. And where you mentioned about the impact you made, I know you're sending your stuff out to over 750 groups, which is absolutely amazing, the amount of people to get in touch with. But it's the fact that 92 of those groups have secured £250,000 of funding through the advice that you've given them. I just think it's amazing. And, you know, thank you for everything that you're doing. Cheers. So, if there's no other comments, sorry, Rich.
I was just going to say thank you very much to yourself and Councillor Burnett. One of the things that we strive to do each year is to find pots of resource that we can manage to make sure that third sector groups within the Vale have access to that money. So that means that we're bidding for money from Welsh Government or from the Regional Partnership Board or from the health charity. So we're putting a lot of work into doing that to make sure that there is money that is just for Vale organisations, that there is one, the RIF a pot that is for both Cardiff and Vale, but we've been charged with managing that by the Regional Partnership Board. So it's a key element because organisations in the Vale of Glamorgan do find it very difficult to attract money when they are up against areas like Rhondda Cynon Taf and much greater competition in all of the trusts and funding sources that are out there. It is a real challenge for third sector organisations here in the Vale to access that resource. So, and thank you very much for your kind comments about the training. COVID actually meant that we shifted the majority of our training online, and that does seem to have been well received by local groups and our members. So thank you.
No, thank you. And, you know, on behalf of everyone that you've helped, it really is appreciated. Thank you. So is committee happy to note that report?
Yes.
Is that, yeah? Okay. Liz, will you?
That's just a hand from me, yes, to say yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, so that's noted. That brings us on to agenda item 6, items which the chair decided are urgent, and we have got one which is to inform members of the progress of the Shared Prosperity Fund funded project, which I believe is Rachel again. Is that correct?
It is indeed, Chair. Thank you. This is quite an interesting one in that we work in partnership with the local authority, and it's a key project and it's been working extraordinarily well in getting people into who are not currently in work and have been out of work or out of the employment sector for a long period of time. So there's lots of training provided by our partners in the local authority, lots of advice and support with benefits, and helping people fulfill their CVs, write new ones, etc., and support and interview techniques. But the key area, I guess, for our involvement in the project is that there are many people who are currently not employed and have not been employed for a long time because of mental ill health or additional learning needs. And they can be greatly lacking in confidence, suffering from anxiety, and there are many reasons that they have not been engaged actively in seeking work or obtaining work. So that's what this element of the CELT Plus project was designed to undertake. And you'll see from the report that what the approach we've taken is to speak with people on a one-to-one in-person basis to find what their aspirations are for eventually getting employment, and looking to see how being involved as a volunteer can provide them with increased confidence, reduce their anxiety, and provide them with experience and skills that they haven't currently got. And once they are successfully in a volunteering opportunity placement, when they have been with that organisation for approximately 6 months, those organisations are able to provide a reference, which obviously is extraordinarily important for anybody who's been out of the job market for several years. So it worked very, very well. We're extraordinarily pleased with the success that there has been. And you'll see from the attached report some case studies and the outcomes of those personal development plans that are put in place. And you'll see what those interventions look like, and the sort of work that our part-time employee undertakes with individuals. And supported volunteering and getting somebody actually to take up a volunteering place who's coming from a position of lacking in confidence and anxious and various other issues. It's really intensive, and basically what the worker is doing is going with those individuals to their first appointment with a third sector organisation. It could be a charity shop, and then perhaps going with them for the next half dozen or so times that they go to do voluntary work, until that individual is feeling confident enough to go on their own. And we have that communication between ourselves and the third sector organisation that an individual has been placed with, so that we know how they're doing. We know whether it's being a success or not, or whether we need to meet again with that individual to find a different or a more appropriate setting for them to undertake their volunteering. So you've got a variety of case studies there, and you also see the numbers that we've been working with, which was considerably more than we anticipated when we set up the project. So we've had a total number of referrals being 49, 20 are currently placed, 10 left the project because of external factors, and 19 we're currently working with to try and find the right volunteering opportunity. And originally, my understanding is that the project was going to just look for 12 placements. So it's certainly surpassed that. Happy to take any questions, Chair.
Thank you very much for that. So I'll open it up to the floor. Any questions or observations? Looks like you covered it all. The one thing, oh, sorry, I was going to say the one thing that I was going to say, I love the one-to-one stuff you're doing to see what the people's aspirations are, whether it is to do with getting back into work or just for helping their anxiety or their confidence. And the volunteering work is so, people that haven't done it don't realise how altruistic it is, and it's the feel-good fact that people get of paying something forward, of helping someone for nothing, can't be underestimated. And it's, once people's eyes are open to it, it can make a huge impact on their whole well-being, regardless of whether or not they go back into employment. It's just their quality of life from that moment on. So, thank you again, Rachel.
Thank you very much, Chair. Completely agree with you. Volunteering is a two-way street, isn't it? If you volunteer, you're helping deliver a service or helping individuals or organisations, but it does help you as well. The payback is enormous. I omitted to touch on the key issues for consideration. So the Shared Prosperity Fund, I think we all know, is we've got one more year at a reduced rate of the funds coming into the Vale of Glamorgan before some of the criteria and amounts going across Wales are altered. As we understand it, at the moment, it's looking likely that the Celt Plus project overall is likely to be reduced, and the knock-on effect of that is a 50% reduction in funding for our part of the project. That bit that gives the confidence and make sure that that we're increasing employability and decreasing social isolation and increasing well-being through that project. And I guess it was just really to raise that issue with members to ensure that part of the project that's been so successful is supported moving forward, to make sure that we don't cut it by 50%. I think I've said in the report that obviously GVS will look for alternative sources of funding, but it does make it quite difficult when those other funders are aware that the Shared Prosperity Fund has previously funded this project. So,
Thank you. Councillor Prothero, you had your hand up. Has your question been answered, or?
It has kind of. I was going to ask about the impact of the 50% less SPF funding going forward. And I absolutely agree with you, Councillor Buckley. Volunteering is such a wonderful opportunity for people. And until they do it, they don't realise how much they get back by just doing it. And it's a wonderful project, this one, and so supportive and helpful for people. So I would really want to see, I know if the funding isn't going to be there, other ways of funding it, because it's so worth keeping it going. We've got GVS coming out to our ward in St Bride's on the 10th to talk about volunteering, which we're really looking forward to. Keeps us going in the rural Vale. In fact, without our volunteers, we'd be nowhere. So it's keep up the good work, and thank you, Rachel. See you soon.
thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, thank you all for that. So again, committee, if we'll note that report, unless I don't see any dissent. Thank you. That brings us on to any items which the chair has decided are urgent. I don't have any. So I'd like to thank you all for joining us tonight. And I can't find the date of the next meeting, but I'm sure Gareth will send it out to us. And I'll see you in a few months.